Invest 92L is bearing down on the Lesser Antilles. Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you on this Friday. All the latest information on 92L, the impacts that are going to occur in the Lesser Antilles, 94L's latest information, and we'll look at the rest of the tropics coming up. Let's get started with what's happening. Again, if you look at the bottom of your screen, the information hub today is going to be filled with a lot of different advisories and rainfall issues and wave sea height problems across the Lesser Antilles. So the latest on 92L, it's the area in yellow. It's down to a 10% chance for development. We're not expecting this to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm. But I got to tell you something. Regardless of that happening, the impacts are going to be about the same. This was always going to be a very sloppy system with a fairly large wind field and some squalls that'll be working their way across the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Islands in general. All the numbers that you see, wind gusts in miles an hour. In Barbados, we've already had more than 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts for today, and it's only going to get worse the deeper into this Friday that we go. The worst part of the wind is going to be near the broad center of what is left of 92L in areas to the north. So places like St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, on over towards the Antigua-Barbuda area, St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat will all see winds of 30 to 50 plus miles an hour the rest of this Friday and into Saturday. You guys know that there are also some mountainous islands here in the Lesser Antilles. For instance, places like Guadeloupe and St. Lucia have some higher terrain. And there's other mountainous areas as well. Some of the higher elevation areas of those islands could have winds of up to 60 miles an hour, where the beaches might have 30-mile-an-hour winds, but elevated surfaces could have winds of up to 60 miles an hour throughout the day on Saturday. So again, a lot of information down below talking about the wind impacts, the rain impacts, and the sea impacts. We're going to have some swells of 3 to 4 meters. We're going to have some squalls moving through with 30 to 50 plus mile-an-hour winds. We're going to have some rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches in a lot of locations, 50 to 100 millimeters, but we're likely to even have some higher areas than that. We could potentially have some 6 to 8 inch rainfall totals up to 200 millimeters in some locations. So this is a brisk, broad, sloppy system that is not going to become a depression or a storm. But again, the impacts are still going to be felt far and wide across the Lesser Antilles. Now, south of the center of circulation for Trinidad and Tobago, there's going to be some rain and some squalls, but we're not going to have the persistent rain and wind as areas to the north. Again, it's all about the center as it tracks across places like Barbados, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines in areas to the north. That's going to have the gustiest winds and the heaviest impacts. If you guys live in this area, let me know in the comments section below what you guys have been already seeing. Let me show you what the models are spitting out with this. This is the simulated radar of 92L on the HMON model. You can see over the next 24 hours or so as we get into Saturday morning how sloppy of a system it really is. So we're not going to have the core winds of 40 plus miles an hour like we would have with a weak tropical storm, but we are going to have several 100-mile wide areas of squalls moving through. Again, some of this is beneficial rain, but it comes with elevated tidal surges, swell problems, and some areas of flooding to go along with potentially some damaging winds. So there will be some impacts across the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Islands in general throughout the day, really late tonight and then throughout the day on Saturday as well. This is snapshot of the HWRF model as we get into mid-morning on Saturday. And again, winds could still be peaking in some areas of over 50 miles an hour. Notice that the center is right about here, moving through St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia north, places like Dominica and Martinique and Guadeloupe, and Barbados would have the brunt of the winds on the HWRF model. So again, really strong winds coming in overnight through Saturday morning. Now, rainfall totals again will favor center and northern areas. So you're looking at those same islands, Martinique and Dominica and Guadeloupe on up towards Montserrat, St. Lucia, Barbados, SVG. We're going to see some good rain in Grenada. We're going to get some good scattered showers in Trinidad and Tobago, but the core of that 2 to 4 plus inches is likely to be in the areas in red. We'll still have some windswept rain for the Leeward Islands, Antigua and Barbuda north to St. Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla and St. Bart's, places like that. Virgin Islands will have some squalls as well, and the winds will be fresh across Puerto Rico as well. Now, one thing that is going to be even more widespread than this is the marine issues. There's already, small craft advisories in effect for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, but I am still anticipating wave heights to be 9 to 12 plus feet in some areas starting later today, Saturday, and maybe even to early on Sunday. That core of that lighter green and yellow showing you sustained, if you will, significant wave heights of at least 10 to 12 feet will be moving right through the Lesser Antilles. So small craft are going to want to stay in harbor and find safe shelter. Obviously, try and get to the leeward sides of the islands if you possibly can. So again, 92L. The impacts for the Lesser Antilles are still going to be quite significant. Before the core of the system is coming through, we already have a lot of 40+ mile-an-hour winds, even up into the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico for today. Winds have been 30 to 35 miles an hour. So this will be an impactful system. It will bring some beneficial rain, but it's going to come with all the other problems that I've already mentioned. Again, our thoughts are with our friends in the Lesser Antilles. You guys live in this area. Let me know what you guys have already been seeing. You can send us pictures to myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Now, of course, it's great to see that this system is now going to develop, but on the heels of that, we still have Invest 94L. It has, if anything, just held steady in what it's looked like satellite presentation-wise over the past 24 hours. I'll bring on the infrared only so you can just see it. It's still an area of disorganized showers and storms. And by the way, it's a 53 mile-an-hour wind there on the coast of South America. So it shows you the broad wind field associated with 92L. If I show you guys our spaghetti plots, because again, this is now an Invest, this is one that we're going to have to watch down the road. I'm not expecting this one to develop anytime soon, and it will be fighting the drier air in the shear in the Atlantic, just like 92L did before it got into the Eastern Caribbean. This one is forecast to take a higher latitude north, but there still is an opportunity as we get into early next week that this could brush the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico before trying to recurve back to the north and to the west, close potentially to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. Just like 92L, this could fall apart before it develops into anything, but if it can get through 3 or 4 days of more marginal environment for development, things do look better conducively to develop as it gets north of the Lesser Antilles early next week. So it has to survive this area in orange, but if it does, there is the opportunity to still develop. This is the AI version of the European ensembles, and some of them do hold it together, right? And make it a stronger system. So if it can survive here in the Atlantic, it's likely to encounter better conditions in the far western Atlantic, just east of Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. So again, something to look out for all of next week. This would be a snapshot of next Saturday, the 22nd. And by the way, on the heels of that, likely another tropical wave coming off the West African coast that could be showing some signs of development by next weekend as well. So we are getting into a much more active pattern. If we look at the ensemble plots, right, not a lot of them hold 94L together, but those that do make a close brush towards the Lesser Antilles and strengthen it a little bit as it gets in between the United States East Coast and Bermuda, staying right now off of the coastlines of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. The GFS is a whole different scenario. More of those keep it as a actual system trying to develop, and farther south and west with more direct impacts to portions of the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, maybe Hispaniola, and then certainly a much closer approach to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas down the road. Again, still a lot to get through here. We've got about 3 or 4 days for this system to try and hold together, but if it does, by early next week, it might be moving into a more favorable environment. So 94L is one to potentially monitor. Right now, though, it is down to just a 40% chance of development. And again, down the road, a situation here. But look, very gusty winds already in the Lesser Antilles associated with this system. Friends, as we move on, thanks for taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Again, down below, you're going to get your information hub with all of that great information on your screen. I'm going to bring back up the 5-day forecast here right now, and then we'll also look at your marine forecast as well. So a lot of great information on this screen. I hope you guys are getting something out of it here. All right, so let's move on. Let me drop off these tropical tracks. What's happening across the area today? Well, I've already talked a bit about the active weather already in the eastern side of the Caribbean in advance of 92L. Again, drop off these real quick, Rusty. There we go. All right, so fresh winds coming in, a lot of 30, 40 plus mile an hour winds. But well away from that, we still have active weather today. Oranjestad, Aruba, 40 mile an hour winds. You can see the breeze picking up. Christiansted, St. Thomas, Ponce, Aguadilla, San Juan, 30 plus mile an hour winds here. Heat advisory. We need some showers to cool things back down, and we're likely going to get that. And you see on those 5-day forecasts, rain chances, of course, will be improving. Scattered showers trying to develop over portions of Hispaniola at the hour. We have thankfully seen the flash flood warning for the Santo Domingo urban area go away across the DR. So hopefully now the inundation of rain won't be as much of a concern. We've had some good storms across Jamaica for today. Again, look at these winds. Kingston, 43 mile an hour wind. Montego Bay, 37. We have the large wave and the strong wind advisory. Thunderstorms developing, working from north to south for today, have produced some of this activity. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery with the infrared slapped on as well. And again, brisk easterlies, a few thunderstorms moving from north to south across the area, but a lot of wind across Jamaica for today. Scattered showers trying to develop again over the Cayman Islands, especially over Grand Cayman. They're all making a run towards the west right now, and while that's the situation, I don't expect it to be a very active day across the Bay Islands of Honduras and Belize and the coastlines of the Yucatan. Thunderstorms will become more prolific inland and then make a run back off towards the west. So if you live in Belize City or Roatan and Guanaja, you could get a couple of passing showers here, but thunderstorms are likely to evolve and strengthen as they push farther off towards the west. More active day today for the central and southeast sides of Cuba, and then thunderstorms have broken out pretty prolifically at the hour across the northern and the northwest Bahamas. So let's get into that. I'm going to bring on the live radar here out of the Miami area and drop off the satellite data just so you can see these thunderstorms developing. So they've begun in places like Eleuthera, Governor's Harbor. They've raced across Nassau, New Providence. They have redeveloped over the northern sides of Andros. A lot of lightning associated with this. Boaters really need to be aware. They're even more concentrated over the Abacos. The northwest movement is going to pull them over Grand Bahama, places like Lucaya and Freeport, in for a pretty bumpy Friday afternoon. Thunderstorms abound over the Bimini area, and this will all head to the peninsula of Florida. You live in central or the southern sides of Florida, likely to see some pretty strong winds. Again, the Orlando area has already had 45 mile an hour winds and associated with some of this activity for today. So we are certainly seeing more active weather in our northern and our western areas. Bermuda's getting into the act as well. And again, it's just going to be a very intriguing forecast the next couple of days across our eastern areas. Going to drop off the 5-day forecast, going to bring on those marine forecasts for you guys as well as we get into the rainfall outlook. So let me pull up the model here. And we're going to look at the rainfall over the next 5 days, and then we'll focus in on not just, of course, what's happening across our eastern areas, but other areas where I expect to be some good shower activity. So when I zoom in and I show you this, again, you're just going to see a very sloppy system coming in. It's going to be kind of a 1-2-3 punch here. There's going to be some heavier downpours with the squalls. I'm more concerned about some of the wind, 30 to 60 miles an hour, and I'm also more concerned about some of the elevated tidal cycles and swells that'll be out there as well. Most of the islands can handle the amount of rain. There will be some areas of flooding, but coming in with that wind, it's going to be some impacts. Could be some power problems across some of the islands, especially the windward islands as well. So please keep that in mind. Conditions should begin to improve late Saturday and especially throughout the day on Sunday. So by the time we hit Sunday afternoon, things will be looking better across all of the Lesser Antilles. Again, still going to be some impacts north, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Barts, and Anguilla, but it's going to be more isolated. It's not going to be as concentrated as what they're going to be seeing to the south, but there will still be some squally weather for St. Barts, and it's not going to surprise me. Antigua, St. Barts, and Anguilla record some 40-plus mile-an-hour gusts. Same situation for my friends in the Virgin Islands, from Anegada, Rotown, Tortola, U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Puerto Rico. Likely to see some 40-mile-an-hour winds on Saturday as well, with brisk moving showers to temper the heat. Again, not a horrible situation there as far as that goes. Some of the rain could make its way towards the ABC Islands, but in a pretty scattered nature. Central American gyre will be active again. Panama and Costa Rica with some heavier rain, and a few showers spinning back into the northern sides of Honduras and Belize. So a more active late weekend and into early next week. Scattered rain across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Just like today, wind-driven showers. Some of that could be heavier from time to time. Elevated sea conditions will continue. I believe the large wave and strong wind advisory is not going anywhere anytime soon. And again, that 100 100-kilometer gusts. I just want to highlight that for Guadalupe, right? That is 60-plus-mile-an-hour winds expected with Invest 92L. So again, great information down below in our information hub and some scattered showers, but a relatively quieter forecast for portions of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. All right, this is what the rainfall totals look like the next 5 days on the European model. Again, highest concentration Eastern Caribbean over the weekend. Some of that will spread southern coastlines of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. And overall, the Caribbean is going to be relatively wet through early next week. Bermuda will have some heavier showers while we're having some good rain today in the Bahamas, still likely more dominated by the heat over the next several days. And again, it's not just the Eastern Caribbean, but gale conditions are likely through a lot of the Central and Western Caribbean as well. Significant wave heights 10, 12, even 14 feet down the road. Again, mid next week, this would be what 94L could be. And that could push some elevated sea conditions to the exposed waters of the eastern side of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. So we can start to see some swells in that area as we get into the latter portions of next week. Something I'll closely monitor, obviously, not only just what's going to be happening with the seas, but how that's going to overall turn out. So once again, one more look at 92L. Look at the winds already picking up across the Lesser Antilles. If you do live in Barbados or SVG or Grenada, St. Lucia North, some of the higher terrain islands as well, just get prepared for some really, adverse conditions the rest of this Friday through Saturday, with improving conditions again on Sunday as the system moves away from the area. Friends, I'm out of time. Thank you for making Meteo Mundo part of your daily routine. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it down in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon with your latest forecast.